Hello everyone, welcome back to your YouTube channel, The Ultimate Audiobook. Today we will cover Unit 3 Rise of Territorial Kingdoms and New Religious Sects of Tamil Nadu State Board History Textbook. Learning Objectives: to acquaint the students with knowledge on migration of Aryans towards Ganges plains and the use of iron technology. Second, urbanization and emergence of Mahajan Brothers, socio-economic changes associated with changes in polity, intellectual ferment and new consciousness stirred up by Buddhism, Jainism, and Ajivika, heterodox faiths in the Tamil country. Introduction: Aryans began migrating eastwards from about 1000 BC. As they moved eastwards, they encountered thick forests. Iron played a significant role in the clearing of the forest. The fertile soil of the Gangetic Valley and the use of iron plowshares improved agricultural productivity. Iron also played a big role in improving craft production such as pottery, carpentry, and metalworking. This in turn paved the way for urbanization. In the meantime, a spirit of skepticism began to pervade, questioning every custom and orthodoxy in the belief system in the belief system in the society, leading to rise of new ideas and faiths. Of the several competing alternate beliefs, only Jainism and Buddhism touched the hearts of the people. In this lesson, we focus on the territorial identities and the new heterodox religious sects that emerged during this period. Sources: the epics Mahabharata and Ramayana, the Dharmasastras, Buddhist texts such as the Tripitakas and Jatakas, Jaina texts and Greek accounts such as that of Aryan constitute literary sources for the period. Archaeological excavations have corroborated the literary evidences. Impact of iron technology. Differing views. The movement of the Indo-Aryans towards the east was aimed at accessing the iron ore of South Bihar and gaining a near monopoly over it. The iron ore was responsible for the political dominance attained by the state of Magadha. By D.D. Kosambi. Iron axes and iron plows led to the expansion of area under cultivation in the Ganges Valley. By R.S. Sarma. That the use of iron axe and iron plow facilitated clearing of forests and generation of agricultural surplus is a myth, because even as late as 16th and 17th centuries, the Gangetic plain was heavily forested. By Makhan Lal. The forests of Ganges region could have been cleared by means of fire. By A. Ghosh and Nihar Ranjan Ray. Iron objects such as hoes, sickles, knives, hooks, nails, arrowheads, vessels, and mirrors confirm the widespread use of iron technology. Second, textiles, beads, pottery, ivory objects, ceramics, and glassware and artifacts of other metals are found. Third, a large number of terracotta artifacts have also been found. Some of the urban features revealed by excavation of the various cities are as follows. First, Northern black polished ware, NBPW, considered luxury ware, and Auburn hallmark have been excavated. Second, the towns were Rajakriha, Kosambi, enclosed by a moat, and sometimes they were fortified. Third, houses were built with mud bricks and in some cases with burnt bricks. Fourth, facilities such as drains, ring wells, and soak pits are found, confirming the second urbanization in the Gangetic Plains. Developments in the Gangetic Plain. Agriculture improved during this phase of development in the Middle Gangetic Plains. Wheat rice cultivation began to yield more produce of rice than other crops, thus creating the necessary agrarian surplus. Protected irrigation alone was not responsible for the surplus production of rice. Iron technology also played a crucial role. While it is debated whether iron axe aided clearing of the forests or whether iron plowshare increased agricultural yield, there can be no two opinions that it played a critical role in improving the production of artifacts. The impact of iron technology is better understood if one considers the technical changes which the introduction of iron implements would have brought about in various craft activities. Leisure time provided by agricultural surplus and technology led to growth of crafts, which in turn aided vibrant trade. Second, urbanization. Agricultural surplus, the growth of crops and trade, and the growing population led to the emergence of towns in the Gangetic Plains. This is called the second urbanization in Indian history, after the first urbanization evident in the Harappan civilization. Different types of towns came into being. First, political and administrative centers such as Rajakriha, Sravasti, Kausambi, and Champa. Second, centers of trade and commerce such as Ujjain and Takshila. Third, holy centers such as Vaishali. Janpadas to Mahajanpadas. The later Vedic period, 1000 to 600 BC, witnessed the transition from a tribal polity based on lineage to a territorial state. The Janas who migrated eastwards began to settle down in various regions. The loyalty of the people shifted from Jana to Janpada, tribe or clan to territory. Janpada means territory, literally meant the place where the tribe sets its foot upon. The Janpadas fought with one another for resources and political dominance. Some Janpadas extended their territories and brought various Janas within their jurisdiction. Such Janpadas grew into Mahajanpadas. Territory, people, government, and sovereignty are important elements of a state. All these elements were found in some of the Mahajanpadas. The Mahajanpadas represented the emergence of territorial kingdoms that ruled over people, means Jana. The king headed the government, aided by a centralized administration. The king was also the sovereign ruler. The king levied taxes out of agricultural surplus and redistributed it and ensured maintenance of law and order in a hierarchical society by force and coercion. These features mark the formation of state in the Gangetic Plains. 16 Mahajanpadas. According to Puranic, Buddhist, and Jain traditions, there were 16 Mahajanpadas: Gandhara, Kamboj, Asmaka, Bascha, Avanti, Shursena, Chedi, Malla, Kuru, Panchal, Maschya, Baji, Anga, Kasi, Kosala, Magadha. The Mahajanpadas are classified as Ganasanghaj and chiefdoms based on the nature of their polity. Ganasanghas, the proto-states of the Gangetic region, were known as Janpadas and comprised chiefdoms, republics, and small kingdoms. 16 Mahajanpadas find mention in the early texts. There were also Ganasanghas or oligarchies, which were centered on clans. The Brizis were one of the best known of the Ganasanghas, and Vaishali was the capital in the Mithila region. These kingdoms did not come under the single decision making authority of a king, but decisions were taken on a collective basis by the heads of the different clans together. There were also smaller kingdoms such as Kosala and Kasi. It is interesting to know that the names of the clans, such as Ikshwaku and Brishni, as well as their as well as these early kingdoms, are all mentioned in the two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Monarchies or kingdoms. The Mahajanpadas and the Gangetic Plains were all monarchies. Vedic orthodoxy was an established practice in these kingdoms. The priestly class enjoyed a preeminent status in the Mahajanpadas, unlike in the Ganasanghas. The kingdoms were governed by kings and the administration was centralized. The Brahman priest provided legitimacy to the king through various rituals. The kingship was hereditary and the succession was in most cases based on the law of primogeniture. The king was assisted by councils called Parishad and Sabha. The councils were advisory in nature. The king appropriated the agricultural surplus through land revenue, apart from a few other taxes. Bali was a tax imposed based on the area of cultivable land. Bhaga was obtained as a share of the produce. Kara and Shulka were some of the other taxes collected during this period. Thus, the king raised revenue through taxes to maintain an elaborate administrative structure and an army. The richer landowners were called Grihapatis. These landowners employed laborers called dasas or karmakaras. The smaller landowners were known as kasakas or krisakas. The society was stratified on the basis of Varna. It emerged as a marker of status. Cultivators and artisans were identified as the Sudras. A new social category that emerged during this period was placed below the Sudras in the social hierarchy and considered untouchables. They were forced to live on the fringes of the settlements and subsisted on hunting and gathering their food. They were marginalized and given only menial jobs as urbanization was on the rise. They had their own language, which was different from that spoken by the Indo Aryans. Emergence of heterodox thinkers. In the 6th and 5th centuries, before the Common Era, North India underwent a remarkable intellectual awakening that profoundly impacted India and influenced its culture in subsequent millennia as well. The impact also swept across South Asia. This awakening was the outcome of questioning the existing philosophy by a host of heterodox thinkers. Gosala, Gautam Buddha, Mahavira, Ajita Kesakambalin, and other thinkers renounced the world and wandered across the Gangetic plains, contemplating and reflecting on the social and cultural scenario of their times. It was not uncommon to see ascetics crisscrossing the Gangetic plains, propounding new ideas. The teachings of these ascetics address the needs of a rapidly changing society, which saw the emergence of new polity, the coming into being of urban centers, development of crops, and an increase in long distance trade. These thinkers questioned the Vedic ideas of soul, mind, and body, thereby paving the way for the rise of new religious sect. Even though all of them questioned the Vedic religion, there was rivalry among them. Eventually, Buddhism and Jainism emerged as popular faiths. Causes of intellectual awakening. 6th century BCE was a period of intense intellectual ferment. There are several reasons for the emergence of this ferment. First, state formation and the rigidity of the Vedic religion constrained the liberty of thought and action. A revolt against religious practice of following dogmas found its articulation in Heterodox Sect. Second, the emergence of territorial identities accelerated the process of socio political and economic changes. The elite class, disillusioned with the system in place, began to move in protest towards the heterodox religions blossoming in Magadha or Middle Ganges plains. Third, as the Vedic religion had not yet permeated into the society, people did not find it difficult to follow the newly emerging religious sect. Fourth, with urbanization and expansion of trade, new classes of merchants and bankers, such as sethis, sought higher social status appropriate to their economic status. Fifth, the grievance of Kshatriyas was that they were denied a staged life of ashramas, a privilege permitted only to Brahmins in the Vedic text. When attempts are made to smother the intellectual curiosity of people, the mind of man rebels against it, and the inevitable reaction shows itself in an impatience of all formal authority and a wild outbreak of the emotional life long repressed by the discipline of the ceremonial religion. By Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, the philosopher, former President of India. Heterodox Sect. The ascetic wanderers and teachers attracted groups of followers and established various sects. Their philosophies encompassed antinomian, belief that divine grace takes away the necessity of obeying moral law, materialist and fatalist elements. They were heterodox sects that rivaled the orthodox Vedic religion, and many of them came into existence during this time. A Buddhist text, Sammanaphala Sutta, while making a reference to Ajatashatru of Magadha meeting Gautam Buddha, mentions that before his meeting, the former had a philosophical discourse with the leaders of the various sects such as Purana Kasapa, Makkali Gosala, Ajita Kesakambalin, Pakudha Kachayana, Sanjay Belathiputta, and Nigantha Nathaputta Mahabir. They are described as homeless wanderers of long standing, Chira Pabbajito, founders of sects, Tithakaru, and leaders of their orders, Ganacharyo. This sect were the key rivals of Buddhism. Their doctrines were shown unsatisfactory, while that of Buddha was acceptable to Ajatashatru. Ajivikas. The Ajivikas were believed to have evolved from one of the many ascetic groups of the times. According to Buddhist records, Nanda Vacha was considered the founder of Ajivika Sect. He was succeeded by Kisa Samkika, followed by Makkali Gosala, who was the third and the greatest of the Ajivikas. Gosala met Mahabir for the first time in Nalanda, and their friendship lasted for 6 years. They separated due to doctrinal differences. Gosala then went to Sravasti, where he was patronized by a rich potter woman called Hallala. He believed in the doctrine of reanimation and criticized and ridiculed the severe austerities of the Vedic ascetics. Being rival sect, both the Buddhist and Jain accounts portray Gosala as a person of vicious character. Sravasti was the headquarters of the Ajivika sect. The Ajivikas were naked ascetics. The basic principle of the Ajivikas was niyati of fate. They believed that nothing in this world could be changed as everything was predetermined. Everyone has to pass through a series of transmigrations to put an end to pain. According to Ajivikas, there were 6 inevitable factors in life: gain and loss, joy and sorrow, and life and death. 2 other preachers, Purana Kassapa and Pakuda Kachayana, joined the Ajivikas after the death of Gosala and infused new life to it. Purana Kassapa held the view that actions did not have any merit or demerit. No evil is caused by torture, hurting, and killing others. Similarly, no merit is acquired by generosity, self-control, and truthful speech. Humans cannot change anything by action as everything is predetermined. According to him, non-action is the way out of life. Pakudha Kachayana believed that the world was made of 7 substances that were unmade, irreducible, uncreated, barren, stable as a mountain peak, standing firm like a pillar that do not alter, do not change, do not interfere with one another, are incapable of causing one another pleasure, pain, or both pleasure and pain. The Ajivikas had reached lay disciples such as potters and banker. The Ajivika sect spread across the length and breadth of the country, though the influence was much less compared to that of Buddhism and Jainism. Ajita Kesakambalin, Ajita of the hair blanket, was a materialist. He believed that every human was made of four primary elements: fire, water, wind, and sense. After death, these elements return to the earth. There is no life after death. He said, generosity is taught by idiots. The words of those who speak of existence after death are false, empty chatter. With the breakup of the body, the wise and the foolish alike are annihilated, destroyed. They do not exist after death. Ajivikas in Tamil Land, Manimekalai, Nilakesi, and Sivagyana Siddhiyar have references to Ajivika doctrine. Nilakesi's quest for truth takes her to Buddha and Puranan. Puranan was the leader of the Ajivika sect. The Cholas are known to have levied a tax on the Ajivikas. Lokayata and Charvaka. The term Lokayata signifies materialist thought. Indian materialism has also been named Charvaka after one of the two founders of the school. Charvaka and Ajita Kisakambalin are said to have established Indian materialism as a formal philosophical system. Charvakas developed the concept of skepticism and believed in the pursuit of knowledge through experience. They questioned the authority of Vedas. Rivalry among Heterodox Sect. There was intense rivalry among the various Heterodox sects. This is evident from the various religious accounts of the period. Buddhist and Jain texts not only mention other heterodox sects but also belittle them. For example, Bhagavati Sutra, a Jain text, provides a poor account of Makhali Gosala. Buddhaghosa also ridicules Gosala in his commentaries. A Buddhist Jataka story compares the heretics with the fireflies whose faint light faded before the rising glory of the sun, that is, the Buddha. Jainism. Among the various sects, the sect led by Bardhamana Mahabir, referred to as Niganta Nattaputa by Buddhist text, bloomed into a religion called Jainism. It was earlier known as Nirgranthas, free from bonds. Mahabir was known as Jina, conqueror of the soul, and hence his sect came to be known as Jainism. According to Jain tradition, Mahabir was not the founder of Jainism. According to Jain tradition, Rishabh was the founder of the sect. He is considered the first Tirthankara. Yajurveda mentions three of the Tirthankaras: Rishabha, Ajitanatha, and Aristanemi. Mahabir organized his members into monastic and lay followers. Life of Mahabir. Bardhaman was born around 540 BCE in Kundagrama, a suburb of Vaishali. He was a member of the ruling family of Ganasangha, and his father Siddhartha was the chief of the Gyantrika clan. His mother Trishala was a Lichavi princess and sister of its chief Chetaka. Mahavir was closely connected to rulers of Magadha, Anga, and Videha. Through his mother, from his childhood, he was attracted to spiritual life. After the death of his parents, he left his home at the age of 30 and wandered about as a mendicant for 12 years in search of true knowledge. He practiced severe austerities and discarded his garments. During the course of his wanderings, he met Gosala and spent 6 years with him before they parted due to differences. In the 13th year of his wandering, at the age of 42, Vardhaman attained enlightenment or nirvana. He then became a Tirthankara and came to be called a Jina or Mahabir, the great conqueror. He preached for 30 years and was patronized by the rich and the elite. He died about 468 BCE at the age of 72 in Pavapuri near Rajakriha. He fasted unto death according to Jain ideals. His death of final liberation was a joyous event for the Jains. Mahabir had a huge following. In the early stages, his followers were drawn from different sections of the society. However, in course of time, Jainism was confined to the trading and money-lending community. Jainism's insistence on nonviolence closed other occupations, including agriculture, as it prescribed refraining from intended or unintended killing. About 500 years after Mahavir's death, in about 79 or 82 C, a schism occurred in Jainism. Magadha was affected by severe famine, and some of the Jain monks under Vadrabahu went south to maintain their strict discipline. They remained without garments and were known as Digambaras, space clad or naked. Others stayed back under the leadership of Stulabhadra and adopted a white garment and were known as Swetambaras, white clad. The schism weakened Jainism in Magadha, but it found ardent followers in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, and Karnataka. On the death of Bhadrabahu, Stulabhadra held a great council at Pataliputra, which compiled the Jain Canon. It consisted of 12 Angas, limbs. Another council was held in Vallavi, Gujarat in the 5th century CE. It added 12 Upangas, minor sections. The Jain monks not only wrote religious treatises but also promoted secular literature. Acharanga Sutra, Sutra Kritanga, and Kalpa Sutra are the earliest Jain texts. Most of the early Jain texts were written in Ardha Magadhi, the language of the common people. Tenets of Jainism. The central tenet of Jainism is nonviolence. No other religion lays as much emphasis on nonviolence as does Jainism. It also criticizes human emotions. Jainism denies the existence of God. In its early stages, deity was not worshipped in Jainism. It emphasizes that salvation cannot be attained by worshipping God or by sacrifices. It stipulates that one can escape misery only by performing austerities. Mahabir rejected Vedic authority. Hence, Jainism is an unorthodox religion. According to Jainism, the world has no beginning or end. It goes through a series of progress and decline according to an eternal law. Jainism advocated dualism. The world is made of soul, jiva, and matter, ajiva, which are eternal. The coming together of jiva and ajiva creates karma, action, which leads to an endless cycle of birth and rebirth. To free oneself from karma, one has to practice severe austerities and self mortification. Therefore, in Jainism, only monks could achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth. Triratnas. Jain discipline requires adherence to certain rigorous rules. The Jains are required to follow three principles called Triratnas, or three gems. First, right faith, Samyak Darshana. Second, right knowledge, Samyak Jnana. Third, right conduct, Samyak Mahabhrata. Five great vows. The monks have to undertake the five great vows, Pancha Mahabhrata. First, not to kill or injure, ahimsa. Second, not to steal, asteya. Third, not to lie, satya. Fourth, celibacy, brahmacharya. Fifth, not to possess property, aparigraha. Non-violence. The five vows are common to both monks and lay followers. The monks were to observe the vows more rigorously than the lay followers. Jainism placed great emphasis on non-violence. Strict observers of the faith wear muslin cloths around their mouths and nose so that they would not inhale small insects even by mistake. To avoid trampling on ants and other insects, Jain monks used feathers to sweep the paths before walking. Jains could not practice agriculture or other crafts that involved killing or injury to living organisms. Hence, they took to trading and money lending and excelled in it. As a result, they were closely associated with urbanization. Jainism is an egalitarian religion. It does not sanction any inequality based on birth. It is one's deeds that determine one's status in society and not birth. Jainism believes that by one's action, one becomes a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, or a Sudra. Pride based on birth is considered a sin. Women were admitted into the monastic order. However, as a woman, one cannot attain salvation. By accumulating merit by good deeds, a woman could be reborn as a man and then strive to attain salvation. Jainism in Tamil Nadu. Jainism spread to Tamil Nadu from about 3rd century CE. Jain rock shelters are found in large numbers around Madurai and other places. The mention of death of Koberun Cholan by fasting in Puranannuru is considered by some to be similar to Jain practice of Sallekhana. Jain influence is strong in early Tamil literature. Nalladiyar, Palamoli, Jivaka Chintamani, Yapirun Kalam Karikai, Nilakesi are some of the prominent Jain works in Tamil. As early as 470 CE, as a Jain Dravid Sangha was established in Madurai by Bajranandi, a disciple of Bujyapada. Jainism has survived in Tamil Nadu and there are several Jain temples. One of the Jain temples is at Tiruparuthi Kunaram near Kanchipuram with beautiful ceiling paintings. This part of Kanchipuram was known as Jain Kanchi. Decline of Jainism in India. First, absence of royal patronage. Second, split amongst Jains as Digambaras and Swetambaras. Third, lack of missionary zeal. Fourth, factionalism. Fifth, the severity of practices. And sixth, spread of Buddhism as a rival faith led to the decline of Jainism. Buddhism. Among the Heterodox Sect, Buddhism was the most popular. It went on to emerge as a powerful religion patronized by various rulers. It was so influential that its ideas were adopted by Asoka as a state policy. Though it virtually disappeared from India for nearly a millennium, it spread far and wide and is widely followed even today in the Southeast and East Asian countries. In the mid 20th century, it was revived in India by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Life of Buddha. Gautam Buddha was born as Siddhartha in the Sakya clan to its king Suddhodhan and his chief queen Mahamaya. His mother Mahamaya dreamed of a white elephant with six tusks entering her womb when she was pregnant. Learned men prophesied it that the child would either become a universal emperor or a universal teacher. While Mahamaya was going to her parents' home, Siddhartha was born in a park in Lumbini near Kapilvastu. Siddhartha grew in luxury as a royal prince. He married Yasodhara and had a son named Rahul. When he was riding on his chariot with his charioteer Channa, one day outside the palace, he saw an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and finally a religious mendicant. Overcome by remorse at the misery of people, he left his palace in the dead of night in search of eternal truth. He rode in his chariot pulled by his favorite horse, Kanthaka, and driven by his charioteer, Channa, far away from the city. He cut his hair and sent it, along with his discarded garments and jewelry, to his father. This is known as Mahabiraskarman, or the Great Going Forth. Siddhartha wandered about and joined Alara Kalam as a disciple for a brief period. He also sought guidance from a hermit Uddaka Ramaputta. Siddhartha was not satisfied with their path and practiced severe austerities, which left him nearly dead. One day, he ate rice boiled in milk given by a milkmaid named Sujata and began meditation under a pipal tree in Bodh Gaya. After 49 days of meditation, he attained enlightenment at the age of 35. Therefore, thereafter, he came to be called Buddha or the Enlightened. He then delivered his first sermon in a deer park in Sarnath near Varanasi. This event is described as Dharmachakra Parivartana, or wheel of the great law. He spoke about the Four Noble Truths and the Middle Path. He established Sangha and spread his ideas far and wide. Buddha and his followers traveled for 8 months of the year and stayed at a place for 4 months of the rainy season. At the age of 80, he passed away in Kushinagar. This is known as Parinirbana. The prominent disciples of Buddha were Sariputta, Mahamoggallana, Mahakachayana, and Ananda. Buddha had a huge following among both the royalty and laypersons. Buddhist Councils. After the death of Buddha, the tenets and other aspects of Buddhism were decided upon in the councils of Buddhist monks. Over a period of time, four Buddhist councils were held. The first Buddhist council was held at Rajakriha after Buddha's death, under the patronage of Ajatasattu. It was headed by Upali. In this council, Upali recited the Vinaya Pitaka. Ananda recited Sutta Pitaka. The second Buddhist council met at Vaishali, a century after Buddha's death. The Buddhist order split into two later. One was called the Stavira Badins, or believers in the teachings of the elders, and the other known as Mahasangikas, or members of the great community. The third Buddhist council was held at Pataliputra. It was convened by Asoka. The Sthavirabadins established themselves strongly and expelled the heretics. The last section, called Kathabathu, was added to Abhidhamma Pitaka. The fourth Buddhist council was held at Kashmir during the reign of Kanishka. Sarvastivadins were an important sect of Buddhism. Its doctrines were compiled in Mahabhivasa. Buddhist sect. In course of time, Mahasangikas, Stavirabadins, and Sarvastivadins emerged as major sect of Buddhism. New ideas emerged among the Mahasangikas and Sarvastivadins. It led to the emergence of Mahayana and Hinayana, the great and lesser vehicles in Buddhism. Mahayana, or the great vehicle, became popular and influential in India. Nalanda University was an important center of Buddhist learning and was patronized by the Palas. Mahayana spread to China and Japan. Hinayana, or the lesser vehicle, became popular in Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, and other Southeast Asian countries. By the end of the Gupta period, Vajrayana, or the vehicle of the thunderbolt, emerged. It was popular in Bengal and Bihar. It was influenced by primitive local cults and spread to Tibet in the 11th century CE. The Bikramsila University in Bihar was an important center of Vajrayana Buddhism. Buddhism in India began to decline with the onset of the Bhakti movement. Slowly, Buddhism came to be influenced by Hindu practices. Soon, Buddhism was incorporated into Hinduism, and Buddha came to be considered as an avatar of Vishnu in some traditions. Buddhist literature. The Buddhist texts were compiled in Pali. The Pali canons are called as the Tripitakas, three baskets. They are Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. Vinaya Pitaka deals with monastic rules and moral disciplines. Sutta Pitaka dwells upon discourses and teachings of Buddha. Abhidhamma Pitaka expounds Buddhist philosophy. The Sutta Pitaka, which contains the teachings of Buddha, is divided into 5 groups or Nikayas. The starving tigress, a Jatak tale, born in a family renowned for purity of conduct and great spiritual devotion. The Bodhisattva became a great scholar and teacher. With no desire for wealth, he went to a forest and led a life of an ascetic. It was in this forest he encountered a starving tigress, which, after giving birth to cubs, was about to eat her own newborn cubs for survival. With no food in sight, the Bodhisattva offered his body as food to the tigress out of compassion. They contain popular works such as Theragatha and Therigatha, hymns of the elder monks and nuns, and Jataka tales, that is, Buddha's deeds in previous births as Bodhisattva. Other important Buddhist works include Milinda Panna, a discussion between Greco-Bactrian king Menander and Buddhist monk Nagasena, and Ceylonese chronicles Devavansa, Island Chronicles, Mahavansa, Great Chronicle, and Kulavansa, Lesser Chronicle. Four Noble Truths of Buddha. The Four Noble Truths prescribed by Buddha are as follows. First, the Noble Truth of suffering: birth, age, death, unpleasantness, separation, unfulfilled wish. Second, the Noble Truth of the origin of suffering: thirst for pleasure, power, long life, etc. are the causes for sorrow. Third, the Noble Truth of the cessation of suffering: nirvana, complete stopping or release from sorrow. Fourth, the Noble Truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering: the Noble Eightfold Path or the Middle Path. Buddha's middle or eightfold path, Ashtangika Marga. First, right views. Second, right resolve. Third, right speech. Fourth, right conduct. Fifth, right livelihood. Sixth, right effort. Seventh, right recollection. Eighth, right meditation. Hence, Buddha did not mention or talk about God. He neither accepted nor denied the existence of God. Buddhism advocated equality. It preached nonviolence or ahimsa and love towards all. However, it was a moderate religion compared to Jainism's insistence on ahimsa. It promoted trade and capitalism, as it was against West and advocated frugality. Jobs involving any form of killing were forbidden. Trade in weapons, living beings, meat, liquor, and poison were not permitted. Buddhism in Tamil Nadu. Buddhism spread to Tamijagam from about 3rd century BC. Asokan inscription found in the Deccan region vouch for the spread of Buddhism to southern parts of India. Archaeological evidences also reveal the existence of a Buddhist complex of the 4th century CE in Kaviripattanam. Quoting Pattinapalai, Noboru Karashima refers to merchants in Kaveri Pompatinam who were vegetarians opposed to animal sacrifice. From this, one could presume the influence of Buddhism in Tamil country. Manimekalai by Sattanara, one of the twin epics of the post-Sangam age, is a Buddhist literature. Similarly, the now extinct Kundalkesi is a Buddhist epic. Kanchipuram in the early Christian era was a flourishing Buddhist center. Dinagar and Dharmapala, who headed the famous Nalanda University, were renowned Buddhist scholars from Kanchipuram. Vensang, who visited Tamil country, mentions in his travel accounts about several Buddhist stupas built by Asoka in Kanchipuram. A Buddhist temple was built in Nagapattinam at the request of a Chinese ruler during the reign of Pallava king Narasimhavarman II, 695 to 722 CE. Chinese monk Wu Hing visited the monastery. In CE 1006, during the reign of Rajaraja I, Srivijaya king Mara Ujjiotunga Burman built a Buddhist temple in Nagapattinam. It is called the Solamani Burma Bihar. Decline of Buddhism in India. Buddhism faced divisions from time to time. Division into various splinter groups like Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana, Tantrayana, and Sahajayana led Buddhism to lose its originality. Pali and Prakrit were the spoken languages of people of North India, and it was through these languages the message of Buddhism was spread. But ever since the times of Fourth Buddhist Council held during the reign of Kanishka, Sanskrit had come to be adopted. Buddhism thereupon became unintelligible to common people. Buddhism also lost its royal patronage after Harshavardhana. In contrast, the Vedic religion got royal patronage first from Pushyamitra Sunga and later from imperial Guptas. The role of the exponents of Bhakti movement like Ramanuja, Ramananda also helped to restore the glory of Vedic religion. The invasion of Huns have a death blow Huns gave a death blow to Buddhism. Toramana and Mihirakula, the two Hun chiefs, had a deep seated hatred for the Buddhists and they almost liquidated the Buddhists living in the northwest India. To make matters worse, the Rajput rulers who could not reconcile to the Buddhist concept of nonviolence and as ardent advocates of Vedic religion started persecuting the Buddhists. Finally, the invading Arabs and Turks forced the Buddhist monk to flee from India and seek asylum in Nepal, Tibet, and Ceylon. In consequence, Buddhism faded away in India. Summary: between 1000 to 700 BC, iron played a significant role in extending the area of cultivation. Agricultural surplus, growth of crops, trade, and the growing population led to the emergence of towns and exchange centers in the Gangetic Plains. The Mahajan Brothers are classified as Ganasanghas and chiefdoms based on the nature of their polity. According to Ajivikas, gain and loss, joy and sorrow, and life and death were the six inevitable factors of life. Mahavir's three principles and Buddha's eightfold paths created a new intellectual awakening in India during the 6th century BC. Influence of Jainism and Buddhism spread to Tamil Nadu from about the 3rd century BC. Exercise. Choose the correct answer. Buddha delivered his first sermon in Sanchi, Banaras, Sarnath, Lumbini. Second, Das is the Buddhist text that makes a reference to Ajatsatru's meeting of Buddha, Jivakasinathamani, Acharanga Sutra, Kalpa Sutra, Samanapha Sutta. Third, Bhagavati Sutra is a Das text, Buddhist, Jain, Ajivika, Vedic. Fourth question, Das played an important role in improving the method of cultivation. Iron, bronze, copper, brass. Fifth, among the 16 Mahajanpadas, Das emerged as the most powerful in northern India: Kosala, Avanti, Magadha, Kuru. Write brief answers. Write the Tripitakas that serve as a source for our study. Second question, what do you know about Charvaka philosophy? Third, explain the core of Mahavir's teachings. Fourth, distinguish the difference between Janpadas and Mahajanpadas. Fifth, write the importance of Nagapattinam in the Buddhist history of Tamil Nadu. Write short answers. First, write a note on the use of iron in clearing the forest critically. Second, Analyze the factors responsible for the rise of towns and cities in the Ganges plains. Third, mention some of the rising towns and cities in the aftermath of second urbanization. Fourth, identify the heterodox thinkers of 5th and 6th century BC. Fifth, point out the influence of Jainism in Tamil Nadu. Answer the following in detail. First, discuss the causes of intellectual awakening in the 6th century BC. Second, give an account of Ajivika and its spread in India. Third, explain the schism in Jainism, pointing out its implications. Fourth, list out the Eightfold Path of Buddha. Fifth, account for the decline of Buddhism in India. Activity. First, locating the 16 Mahajan Brothers on the outline map of India. Second, preparing a chart with information on Buddhist monuments in India. So everyone, we have covered Buddhism, Ajivika and Jainism. In our next video, we will cover Unit 4. If you like the audiobook, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Ultimate Audiobook. And to stay updated, don't forget to hit the bell icon. Till then, take care and bye bye everyone.